Alright guys, we're officially 1 week away from finally playing Gotham Knights. There's tons of new gameplay info to go over from the developers, also details on the story, villains, co-op play, photo mode, and much more. Not going to lie, I'm cautiously excited after all of the previews over the past week, but there are also a few concerns we need to talk about. If you're in the same boat, let me know down below, and also consider leaving a like on this video as that would help me a ton. Anyway, let's get started with a better look at the pre-order Beyond and the Night Watch by Jim Lee Suitstyles. If you're wondering if you can grab these in-game without having to have bought the deluxe edition first, then I'm afraid I'm gonna have some bad news for you. These are exclusive to the deluxe edition, but you can get them separately as a DLC later on as part of the Visionary pack. We also have a look at the Night Watch by Jim Lee transmogs with an extensive new gameplay look for the Robin variant. In my opinion, these look absolutely incredible, and especially the Beyond skins also come with their own unique effects and animations, like this one right here for Batgirl. But in a recent dev Q&A, Warner Brothers confirmed that all of the 44+ suits in Gotham Knights will also have their own colorways, including themed and even familiar brand ones like blacked out versions and whatnot. But there's also other more wild variations in their colors, including bubblegum and many more to pick from. It's also been confirmed that these colorways get unlocked separately from the suits, likely also through challenges and other gameplay means. Furthermore, while not a breakthrough by any means, in-game cutscenes will also reflect your suit and color options. Similarly, the Batcycle, accessible to all 4 heroes, will also have its own different skins at launch, 3 of them in total, and each one of them will have their own variety of colorways to apply. One of these skins is also the 233 custom Batcycle skin that comes with pre-ordering any edition of Gotham Knights. It's not yet clear though if it's exclusive to just that or if it can also be acquired via in-game means. But you'll need all of those style points for photos, and yes, photo mode has been confirmed to be part of the game on day 1. We'll even be in for a treat with all of the options and filters included in it, according to one of the developers. Personally, I just love that there's a photo mode to begin with, as I'm a huge buff when it comes to these, but this could also be a way to better admire the suits, according to the same Q&A. While not a direct one-to-one recreation of the comic and movie suits, Gotham Knights has quite a few suits heavily influenced by those looks, right down to every small buckle, zipper, texture, fabrics, and even the seams in their clothes. Obviously, many more will be original creations influenced by the comics, so I think right now Gotham Knights doesn't seem to lack anything in terms of the suit style department and what you can customize your characters with. But on a not so exciting side of the news, let's also talk about the number of villain arcs confirmed. Right now, it's only been confirmed that 3 of these are going to be present in Gotham Knights, including one for Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze, and more recently revealed Clayface. Now, this isn't as bad as it sounds. There's obviously more villains in the full game that we're gonna fight with. It's just that these 3 in particular will have entire story arcs dedicated to them, and the game pays a bit more attention to them compared to some of the others. This is of course on top of the villains from the main narrative, which are still going to be the Court of Owls, and also another shadowy organization hinted throughout the recent cinematic trailer, but more on that in just a little bit. Looking at the recently data-mined trophy list, all of these 3 aforementioned villains will have multiple missions, each part of their own side arcs, separate from the main story, so there's quite a bit of extra content in there for us to take part in. There's also at least 2 more. One of them we discovered through some detective work early on Professor Langstrom, also known as the Man-Bat in the comics, and there's also an early on mission where we can see his lifeless body being carried by one of these ambulances. But there's an achievement in the game that specifically references that we have to hunt various Man-Bats all around Gotham, so you could still say that he's also a villain that is still quite a big focus of the game too. Maybe not as big of the other 3, but still there. And also we know of Penguin, seen in some of the recent trailers, helping us with info on the Court of Owls. There's also the question of the League of Shadows, by the way, which, given Red Hood's powers, I think its involvement at some point is a no-brainer for most people who paid any sort of attention to some of the trailers. Speaking of more story stuff, one big question was in regards to mission structure and if it changes depending on the character we choose to play with. Well, first of all, developers confirmed that we are not forced to play with a certain knight in any of the missions, and we are free to do anything in the game with just one or alternate between them at any point. In fact, the game even facilitates that with slightly altered dialogues and cutscenes for each of the 4 knights, as you'll see in just a little bit. But in terms of possible different endings, it seems that there's only going to be one, regardless of who we choose to play with in the single story campaign, and it's not going to change much with the exception of just how the trailer plays out. Most obvious, I think it was in some of the recent previews, for example with Harley Quinn, where she would have different dialogues and the knights would react in their own specific ways compared to the other ones, but still that narrative was going in the same direction and the outcome was pretty much the same. And we also know that each knight has their own story arcs too to take part in, which also involves you unlocking some extra abilities as a result, so it's worth noting that too as part of the main and the side narrative. Now, the next interesting bit is going to be about co-op play, how the story works, how the cinematic functions, and also a few details about the co-op gameplay. So one of the questions was in regards to how story cutscenes would play in a co-op mission. The quick answer is that a host's version of the cinematic would be the one that plays, since the host is the one driving the main story. I think that makes quite a bit of sense. And to help out smooth the transition, they also made it so that your co-op friends will appear at the end of these cinematics for a smoother transition back to gameplay. On the more technical side of the co-op gameplay, friendly fire doesn't exist, but you can still hurt your teammates with explosive barrels if you're not being careful at your surroundings, just like how you can hurt your own character if you happen to sit next to one that's currently exploding. In terms of doing your own thing in the open world, both co-op members can fight crime all over Gotham City, it seems even separately, but once the player triggers a mission or a story cutscene, the other one will be teleported at that location after a short cooldown, or well, in this case a countdown timer. I think that also makes sense so that you don't get griefed in co-op in case somebody doesn't want to play your own way. In any case, here's also a final look at the minimum specs required for the PC version for a steady 60 FPS at 1080p. Looks pretty decent to me, but let me know down below if it's too much or too little for you. Of course, the rest of the system requirements will also get posted sometimes later, maybe this week or earlier the next one. Expect even more coverage for Gotham Knights as we're getting closer to launch. If you want to get better prepared for that, I also made a simple list of things you should know before buying Gotham Knights, and also a full rundown of each knight's skills, strengths, and weaknesses to better help you choose your starting main. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.